Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am Brother Minister Cepeda, the founder and the operator of a holistic ministry that is created and designed to provide all of humanity with nourishment for the mind, the body, and the spirit. So this is a holistic ministry as previously started. I start each video by recommending or requesting that you guys go visit that website so that you guys can give me the opportunity to honor and glorify my Heavenly Father who has sent me. The tools and the strategies and tactics that I implement to achieve my goal of nourishing you guys completely, mind, body, and spirit, are services that include philosophical consultations, ISSA certified fitness training, and clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices. Now, that's the apex of the services that I utilize to achieve my aforestated goal. In addition to those services, I also am very passionate and very much into services of youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, as well as good old-fashioned inspirational teachings. So, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, leave a comment, and welcome to the channel again today. I do that with the website just in case there's any first-time viewers, and surely I definitely have to honor my Heavenly Father. And once you guys go to the website and read the bio, you can understand why it's so important to me that I do so. So today we're going to talk about a subject matter that's it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. So I'm going to do as best a job as I can. And I want to preference this video by saying if I make any errors, then I ask that you guys will forgive me in advance, and also if there's anything left out. And I want to also say, I'll probably say this repetitively during the video, which is that I'm not painting everybody with one broad brush. It may sound like it because I may be saying y'all and them and us, but it's obviously there's exceptions to the rule. And today's topic is going to be called the blatant loudness of white silence. It's blatantly loud, guys, when it comes to this thing of racism. And I want to digress for just a moment to say, hey, listen, I'm aware that dating back to Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad and things of that nature, even before then, there were always whites or those who were amongst the collective whites who felt like, you know what, slavery is wrong, it's cruel, it's inhumane, and they took active steps in doing what they could to either whatever it was that they could do in their situation, whether it was help slaves escape, whether all they could do was ask the man in charge to give a few less, whacks with the whip, whether it was giving extra food without anyone knowing, whatever they could do in their particular situation, they did that. So this is not saying that there hasn't been people amongst the white collective who have actively participated in standing up against racism, because there has and there is right now to this very day. There always has been. Right now to this very day, you see with Mr. Floyd's death, a great mixture of races that are out there. And it's good and it's nourishing, it's refreshing for me to see that, particularly when it comes to seeing some of my white brothers and sisters out there. Because you guys are the difference makers. You guys are the difference makers. And if blacks, Asians, and all the other different races, if they join in, yeah, it's going to look beautiful. It's going to be that much more fortified because it's not just blacks out there complaining. They got some of their Asian brothers, marching with them, and then they have some of their Hispanic brothers marching with them. That's encouraging. That's fortifying. But the deal breaker is going to be white brothers and sisters who are actively on the forefront and calling a spade a spade. It's not good enough to just not be racist. It's not good enough to just not be racist. You have to be all out anti-racist. And it's not good enough to say when something like Mr. Floyd's death, then I'm going to go out and hold some picket signs and I'm going to march in the rally. That's not good enough. And again, that's not lost on me, the importance of it, the magnitude of it, but it requires more. It requires a great deal more. It requires my white brothers and sisters standing up on their job, in their neighborhoods, at the polls, in the workplace, in the parks, what have you, just like they have these community activisms that my white brothers and sisters partake in, and they're on the forefront of those battle lines, whether it's a war on drugs, whether it's some of the stuff about feeding some homeless people, what have you. They have a structure, they have a network that actually is zeroed in on getting that job accomplished. And it needs to be that even more so when it comes to stomping out this racism. Because when my white brothers and sisters don't partake in this, or they just partake in it, when there's when the masses are out there, then this allows for the racism to continue to be perpetrated. And obviously there are some of my white brothers and sisters who just, no matter what, it appears as though they're just going to be racist, whether it's all out racist or, we'll let some of you other guys have some of this stuff or do some of this stuff that we can do, but we're really not going to let you guys elevate to the status and privileges that we have. So whether it's extreme or whether it's, if it's not so extreme, there are some who appears as though they're just going to always be racist. So for them, they don't fit into this mold of people that I'm making this plea to. I'm talking about my white brothers and sisters who probably are the offsprings from generations back. Maybe your parents, grandparents were always active against slavery. They was anti-slavery, pro-human rights for real. So some of you guys, it may just be born into you guys to just be that way, and then there's others who maybe they were born a certain way and reached a certain awakening, a certain maturity, and decided that, you know what, there's a better way, that's wrong, people should be treated fairly. Whatever the case may be, this is for those of you who realize the detriment that racism causes around the board, and I'm going to point a couple of those things out as I move forward in this video. Because again, just not saying anything says everything. It says everything. And your silence, or just going out there whenever there's a large gathering, that's not good enough. And your silence, whether it's 100% silence or just going out there when there's a large gathering, that makes you complicit. Your silence make you complicit. And I'm not speaking individually here. I'm speaking to the collective. You guys know, and I know what the consequences can be if you take off the training wheels and just say, you know what, I'm calling spades a spades. I don't like racism. It's repulsive. It's repugnant. There's nothing humane about it. It's wrong. It should never have happened. It should be abolished immediately. And I'm here to do everything I can to stomp it out. If you, those of you amongst my white brothers and sisters, my white brothers and sisters, if you stand up and make that call boldly, we know there's a price for you to pay. We know that. And you know that. Whether it's been told to you and taught to you directly or indirectly. But so what are we going to do? And I'm going to use this, but I'm not necessarily even talking about anyone's actual life. But there is a saying, just to make a reference point, if you're not going to be willing to die for anything, then you haven't found anything that's worth living for. And I preface that statement by saying I'm not even talking about someone's actual life. I'm just saying whether it's your finances, your community standings, whether it's your social media following, your position on the job, what have you. If you're not willing to stand up and take those bumps and bruises, never mind even your life, how about you just be willing to sacrifice anything? Because at the end of the day, it's about all of us. And I tell my black brothers and sisters this all the time. I have a video, you should check it out. It's called Who Hoodwinked the Hood? And then also check out Who Hoodwinked Humanity? Because when we zero out, if we can see past our petty differences, which the system is so set against us doing so, if we could see past that, we can see that they don't care about you or me. It's all an illusion. It's all a trick. It's all a game. It's sleight of hands. They don't care about you or me. They killed JFK and MLK. They sent Larry Hoover to penitentiary for a much longer period of time, but they nailed Larry Hoover and they nailed Martha Stewart. It's all an illusion. When it all goes down, martial law is going to be inflicted upon all of us. We all are being affected by COVID-19. So what they have propped you up to think and believe that you are so much bigger and better than someone else, it's just a mindset to keep you divided, just like it's a mindset to keep those who they have deemed to be lower class, to keep them divided. So they're looking up, pointing the finger that way, and then they're looking down, pointing the finger that way, and no one's looking straight ahead to see that the same cat is punching them both in the nose. Your factories, your employment through factories, and look at Detroit. They went overseas. Look at all this stuff that's happening. They didn't care about you, but they got you thinking that you're so superior. But when it all goes down, they smack you in the mouth just like they smack the blacks, the browns, the reds, and anybody else they smack in the mouth. So it's bigger than you. And I tell my black brothers and sisters this all the time. Look, man, we can't be sitting around here just um, looking at our white brothers and sisters like, the problem is them and the problem is them. They got videos on there with little 15-year-old white kids. Little 15-year-old white dude. He just decided that he was going to say something to the officer. Wasn't disrespectful or anything. Hey, man, look, you can't pull me over. No, I don't want you searching my car. They killed him. And that's not just an exception to the rule. It may be not in the amount in which they do that to my black brothers and sisters. But at the end of the day, they're going to stomp them out just like they're going to stomp us out, man. They just doing it more to us to reinforce that stereotype, to get my white brothers and sisters thinking they better, and to get my black brothers and sisters thinking they're not as much. So the loudness, the blatant, high-pitched loudness of white silence is deafening. It's deafening. And not only does your silence make you complicit, silence is also consent. So if you're not going to stand up and say, hey man, look, and again, I'm not talking about just when something major happens and then we can all get out there and kumbaya for a while, and then we go back to our office and we see people doing stuff that shouldn't be done. We see the bosses looking over people for promotions. We see people being treated all kinds of ways by police and our social lives, your kids coming home, practicing racist tendencies and this and that all across the board. So it's not good enough to go out there and kumbaya for a while. And please get me right, because as previously stated, we appreciate that. And I applaud that and I salute that, because it takes a lot of courage to go out there and do that. But what I'm saying is, if we're going to do this, we need to do this all the way, and we need to do it with all of us. Because the moment the blacks stop pointing their finger at the whites and the whites stop pointing their finger at the blacks and everybody in between, and we get that white voice to say, hey man, look, we have a rush for the cure. We're leading that's our thing. We have a blood drive where we're the forerunners of that. Boom. We got a Let's Feed Africa program. That means we got systems in place, continually, constantly addressing getting this goal accomplished. Salvation on whatever it is, there's a structure, there's a network in place where this is always being addressed. And if and when my white brothers and sisters decide to take that type of initiative when it comes to stomping out racism, it's a done deal for racism. It's a done deal for racism, because it relies on keeping the white collective silent and docile. We're going to keep you silent. We're going to overload you with these privileges and these rights, and we're going to keep you silent. And then for the ones of you who know that this is wrong and there's a better way and it's affecting all of us negatively, then we're going to keep you docile by letting you know from the very beginning that you step out and get out of line. You go against some more white brothers and sisters if you want to. They attempt to do to that white person who stood up against slavery, they're going to do worse to him than they did to the actual slave himself, because they want to make an example. Like, no, you don't go against us, homie. But look at what and where it's gotten us by not standing up. I mean, by all accounts, The vast majority of those small business owners who had to go under because of this so-called pandemic, the vast majority of them were whites. The vast majority of them who their great grandparents worked their fingers to the bone, left it to their grandparents. Their parents left it to their grandparents, left it to their parents. Now they got it, and they just paying bills, trying to keep the family name or the family business and tradition going. They got shut down by this pandemic. So what happened to all of that? Oh, you so much better. No. We're all equal to the less than 1% at the top who steer this ship. So where has it gotten us? By pointing the finger at each other, by sitting on the sidelines, by being passive in our approach, and just by coming out to do the little kumbaya thing, not to diminish it, but to come out and hold hands and show support during these marches. But then we go back to our private and our personal lives, and there's no agenda, there's no initiative, there's nothing there. We just marched for a while, made our voices felt, and then we went back and watched the white dude get spit on the little black kid, or run him over in the street, and that didn't make too much news, so everybody, all my white brothers and sisters, just went on about their business. We can't deny that this is a problem, guys, and we can't deny that what I'm saying is the truth. We can't deny that, not if we're honest. We can't deny that your voice will make the difference. We can't deny that it's not good enough to just go out and do the marches and then go back to our regular daily lives. We can't deny that it's been instilled within my white brothers and sisters that if you go out of line, if you stand up for these N-words, I just say the word. The word don't mean nothing to me, but I don't know if YouTube will flag my channel. But they have made it clear. We can't deny that they've made it clear that you're going to pay a severe price if you stand up for these N-words and you go against, your own kind. These are truths. We can't deny that at the end of the day, when they pull out their billy clubs, whether it's the literal billy clubs or the metaphorical billy clubs, they're going to smack you in the head just like they're going to smack me and mine in the head. They didn't say all the black businesses closed during this pandemic. They didn't say, the whites cannot, their business ain't gonna close down, but any blacks who can't open their business, we're gonna go push them into bankruptcy. They didn't do that. They smacked all us around. So we gotta stop falling for that okie doke right there, man, to begin with. And my white brothers and sisters need to realize the importance and the power of their voices, and whatever they're going to do, they need to come on with it and do it with regards to saying, hey man, look, this is a united front. I don't want to bring my child up in this kind of society. I don't want to leave this kind of society to my grandkids, or my grandkids is about to have some babies here in a few years. I don't want them bringing no babies into this world where hate just begets more hate. How's that working for you, my white brothers and sisters? How has it been working for you to say we're going to keep putting these people down? They're the problem. And then when it all hit the fan, we see who the problem. The top less than 1%. And it continues to be perpetrated by keeping my white brothers and sisters silent, because you guys are the difference makers. If the white collective really got together and zeroed in on this, came up with a game plan, a strategies, a goal to really wipe out, man, it'd be reformed overnight. But who's going to be the first to do it? Because the first one to do it is definitely going to have to be some brave individuals to begin with, because they're gonna have some targets on them. They're gonna have some targets on them specifically. But again, and I'm not talking about your literal lives, but I do want to use that again just as a point of reference. If you haven't found anything that's worth dying for, then you really haven't found anything that's worth living for. So we can say that we're living for our kids and this and that and that and this, but if you know that this is an extreme detriment to your kids and your grandkids, and you're not willing to stand up for that, never mind with your life. How about your position on your job? How about your social followings? How about the way your neighbors are going to look at you? You won't risk. Most of you guys just won't risk that. And I get it, well, because if I stand up, it's not going to be just that. They're just going to come at you guys' actual lives. Well, guess what? They already are. They already are. They're coming at all of our lives. So the first thing we got to do is stop going for that hype. And like I said, I say this to my brothers and sisters all the time. I get it, my black brothers and sisters. Yes, we have to stand up and make our voices heard and do what we have to do to stomp out racism. But we also got to do it with a zoomed out approach to realize that just the average everyday white person, white brothers and sisters, that's not our enemy. That's not our enemy. They're feeding us that through the media. They want us to accept that as a truth. But if we stay zoomed out far enough, we can realize, hey man, them cats is looking at me sideways because they've been brainwashed by that TV that's got me looking at them sideways. We've been brainwashed by the same thing. So we gotta really, really start to get that part of it. And as previously stated, there's always been a good amount of my white brothers and sisters who have felt that, man, this is just deploring, it's sad, it's miserable. And they have actually taken steps from way back in the day. From the very first time they pulled up to the coast of Africa and started putting slaves on those ships, there were sprinkled in amongst my white brothers and sisters, there were sprinkled in some white brothers and sisters who said, man, wow, you're just going to take this this cattle iron that we burn our cattle with and just going to stick it to this man's back? And very quickly, he realized that he needed to shut up or he needed to ship out, because there's no way he was going to stand in that position and tell those others, his other white brothers and sisters, about the cruelty of it, the injustice of it, the unfairness of it, the harshness of it, the cruelness of it. Because when he opened his mouth and said that, they attacked him from all angles. And so he quickly learned. And it's been happening from that moment forward, where there's always been some of my white brothers and sisters who have felt this is just a ridiculous way for one to proclaim themselves as being a human being. It's pathetic. No human being behaves that way. No real human being. You're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Richard Speck and people like this, people, and Dahmer and all these kinds of people who have done these things. Doesn't matter what color they are. I'm not using their name because of their color. I'm using that again as a point of reference to say, if there's anybody who can inflict that kind of harm on a person, they're not a human being. They may be something that's existed in the human body. And we can get into my philosophical views on that in another video. But that's not the makeup of a normal human being, because a normal human being, this guy could have wronged you and could have hurt you and caused you great grief. And when you exact your retribution on him, after you do that, A normal human being is going to, at some point, mercy is going to kick in. Empathy is going to kick in. And they're going to discontinue that behavior. So for one to just continue to inflict that kind of hurt and pain and suffering upon someone else, that's not the act of a human being. At least not as I see it, excuse me. Please pardon me, guys. So yeah, but and again, so I want to salute those who have always been there. Maybe they ain't even walking this planet no more, but they did what they could do, whether whatever it was. You know, maybe some of them did act like Moses. Maybe some of them ended up killing one of the other white brothers and sisters in the interest of helping the slave get away or do what was in their heart was right. So that may have been what was their particular move in that particular situation. The next person probably could have just begged the master not to hit him anymore. The next one could have slipped him an extra blanket, you know, sent him some healing out there for his or her back. Just did whatever they could do. And that's all I'm asking you guys to do. Whatever it is that you can do, because some of you guys can do this and some of you guys can do that. Whatever this and that is for you and your situation and your circumstances, I know that it's more than just getting together on these massive marches like this. I know it. I know it. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. And so is the great workshop of life. It's tough, man. I wasn't born with no silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't have a plastic or a paper spoon in my mouth. They got a saying now where they had to get it out the mud. They had to get it out the dirt. I had to get mine out the sewage. But this thing that we call God, it's real. It's real, and it wants to work and use you. Let thy kingdom come. It can only come through you and me and people like you and me. Those of us who see a wrong and are determined to say, let's see if there's a way that we can right this. Let's put forth some continual, constant, thoughtful, and determined effort into to trying to do everything we can to right this. We just don't sit on the sideline and say, well, that's just the way society is. It's always been that way. Well, if that's working for you, then this video ain't for you. But I see it not working for you. Look at all the ranchers and farmers that's having to shut down. Look at all the land that they're taking from our white brothers and sisters who their family passed that land down to them from generation to generation. That's all they have is the land. And yet society has stereotyped them as being special, as being the elite among the human race. And when it all went down, they went out there and took them people land. And don't matter if they had money or not. Doesn't matter if they had power or not. These people are for real. Look what they did to JFK. So it's not about having money or we're going to do this to the poor people. Yeah, the poor people are targeted because that's low-hanging fruit. But at the end of the day, they'll do it to anybody. You let them decide that that's what they want, that's what they're going to do. It ain't gonna matter if you white, black, red, yellow, brown, or blue. So we gotta start calling spades, man. And you guys' voices, we need it, man. We just ain't no other way to say it, because we'll be circling the same wagon to infinity. People just, something happens and people just get out and march. And I don't care if they can march till the cows come home. when they leave there and they don't go back to their communities and start a grassroots efforts in religion, in politics, in the workplace, in our day-to-day lives, then it's a dog chasing his tail, man. But if and when my white brothers and sisters decide to say, hey man, look man, the path that you clowns are on with this racism stuff, it's taking the whole world to hell in a handbasket. It's not just taking the blacks and the browns and the yellows to hell. It's taking everybody to hell, except for that, metaphorically speaking, except for that less than 1% at the top. So that's the sleeping giant. That's the sleeping giant that needs to awake. My contact information is on my website. If there's any one of my white brothers and sisters out there that have suggestions for me, what I can do, need my assistance, any kind of thing that I can do to help such a cause, hey, I am willing, I am able. Because it starts with you guys. And like I said, read the video that I got from my own black brothers and sisters. I don't let nobody off the hook. Because there's one dude that's pissing down all of our backs and he's telling us it's raining. But we can't see that because when he say it's raining, we look to the sky and overlook the fact that he's pissing down our back, because towards the sky, just as a figure of speech, they're saying, no, it's the white people. That's why you can't get good job. White people don't like you. White people think they better than you. Oh, the reason you can't get into college like you used to, or this and that and that and this, your country's been taken by these black people. They're the scum of the earth. They don't want to work. They're this, they're that. And they perpetrate these stereotypes to where they have my black brothers and sisters buying into it, so they don't work. They don't take care of their kids a lot of times. Again, I started by saying this is not a broad brush, so I hope you guys can understand that. But this is how so my black brothers and sisters buy into that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy once they bought into it. And the same thing goes to my white brothers and sisters who feel like they are superior. They don't want to help anybody. They want to look down and look at the crime in the black community and how blacks dress and this and that, and develop a mindset to point to them as being the enemy. While this one guy just keeps pissing down all of our backs. The silence from my black brothers, from my white brothers and sisters, we have to stop it. We need you guys to speak up. Not just for us, but for yourselves and for all of mankind. And I get it. It's hard. It's tough. It's hard. It's tough. Most, and I'm gonna venture and say this, and again, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but this is my philosophical view of what's true. There's also, if you do your research, there's also some actual statistics that can bear some of what I'm about to say out, because they've done surveys on these type of topics. Most of my white brothers and sisters, I'm not going to even say most, I'm just going to say a lot of them. A lot of my white brothers and sisters, they won't speak up for one or the two reasons. And I'm not talking about the ones who in their heart just feel like it's wrong flat out. They do whatever they can regardless. Whatever's appropriate for them to be able to do, in their situation, their circumstances, they do it. So I'm not talking about them. Pardon me, please. And I'm also not talking about my white brothers and sisters who are just determined to be racist regardless. I'm not talking about them. The sleeping giant is those of my white brothers and sisters that are right in the middle. They don't go out of their way to do anything, and they ain't racist to the core, whatever. They just kind of go with the flow. This is a sleeping giant of my white brothers and sisters. And most of them, according to some statistics, as well as even more so according to my own philosophical view of what the truth is, they won't speak out for one or two reasons. One is that they are afraid to lose their white privilege. And whether you admit it or not, being born white in America provides you with a privilege that being black, being Hispanic, being Asian, any other kind of immigrant, you are not afforded. Just by being white, you are afforded certain privileges. That's a fact. So those are my white brothers and sisters who are sitting in the middle. They don't want to lose that white privilege. They're afraid. They're hesitant. They're leery. They're suspicious. They're apprehensive. They're overly cautious because if we really mobilize and come up with this foundation, this structured plan and game plan where we're going to attack politics, police reform, religious churches, where we're going to attack this racism thing head on. And we got specific systems and plans and goals on each area, how we're going to get to. If they stand up and do that, well, you know what, then what about my privileges? I kind of like being able to do this. This is all I've known. I don't know if I'm comfortable about having to compete for something that's always been mine, even though it was mine because their forefathers slaved for 310 years without a nickel. So that's why this system was set up. So I was born into this system. It's all I know. I didn't do anything. It's just all I know. It's all my parents knew. They didn't do anything. But I get to, disturbing and shaking up the apple cart. Then what happens to my white privilege? So they just kind of sit in the middle and watch, again, metaphorically speaking, they just kind of sit in the middle and watch the whole world go to hell in a handbasket. The other ones, other of my white brothers and sisters, the other reasons for why we're talking about the same ones in the middle, who either for one reason or the other, two primary reasons being as follows, won't push this agenda to clean up racism once and for all. So they either, one or both, they're either afraid they're going to lose their white privileges and or they're afraid of black retribution. They're afraid of black retribution. We know what our ancestors have done to these people. We know it was foul. It is reprehensible, and judgment will be served if these cats ever get free. So we can't afford to let them get free. We done wronged them to the point to where if they get free, they gonna burn us. They gonna burn us down. They gonna do to us exactly what we did to them. So those are the two reasons why this sleeping giant in the middle has not stepped up to the plate. And I'm going to let you guys, here's a little cheat sheet. I believe, first of all, that your privileges that you have, that's been afforded to you based solely on the fact that you were born white into this country, I believe that you have the backbone, the smarts, the grits, the determination, and everything needed to where you don't need a handicap. I think you can handle it on your own. I think you can handle it. And these ain't empty words, because I think that every human being can handle it, when left to our own natural course of development as human beings. But this less than 1% has always been at the helm for the most part, steering and guiding and persuading us and influencing us in ways that were detrimental to all of us, detrimental mentally, psychologically, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. So on this end of the pendulum, we have my white brothers and sisters who are kind of shook because they don't know how they would be able to make it in society if they didn't have their white privileges. That on the other side of that coin, you have my black brothers and sisters who basically are the same way when it comes to coming up. They don't know how they would make it with no guns in the hood, or have to talk all my problems through, and I can't just punch somebody in the mouth, or I have to put the drugs down, or all these. I had to be to work on time. I had to really pay my child support due. They have all the same fears, just working in a different oscillation than my white brothers and sisters. This is ridiculous. I believe my black brothers and sisters has everything that it takes: the smarts, the grit, the determination, the spiritual insight, the fortitude to, if and when put in those kinds of situations where they do have to be responsible, where they do have to be what we would refer to as real men and women, as far as providing for their family, letting go of the violence, not selling drugs, and being to work on time, whatever. I think we have, as my black brothers and sisters, has everything it takes to be successful in that regard. And I think my white brothers and sisters has everything it takes to be successful without their privileges. We've been brainwashed, guys. And the only voice that's missing right now is this sleeping giant of my white brothers and sisters who are sitting in the middle watching this thing play out with this long as it's sunny in my backyard approach. I'd help them, but man, what about my privileges? I'd help them, but man, if they get all the way free, they might hang me. They might hang us like our ancestors hung theirs. I'm going to let you in on another little secret. We all can make it. But here's something that I want my white brothers and sisters to get. See, because, and this is particularly, again, we got those, my white brothers and sisters, who are just going to be racist. That's just it. That's all. And I'm not saying that to denigrate them. I'm saying it to speak a truth. And it's the same thing for some of my black brothers and sisters. We got some that's just going to be that are just going to choose a path that's not necessarily constructive. They're going to choose a path that unfortunately may be about the sagging pants, the smoking blunts on the corner, the not having and wanting to get up and go to work, not paying child support. You have some of those, and that's just the truth. That no matter what, that'd be the life they chose if they died 1,000 times and came back. Same thing with some of my white brothers and sisters over here. They're just going to be racist if they died 1,000 times and came back. That's just what it is. But for the bulk of my brothers and sisters over here, and for the bulk of my white brothers and sisters over here, we got everything it takes. This right here, this tidbit is for, as previously stated, for my white brothers and sisters who have this notion. I've already addressed the one of a notion and a thought that, they might lose their white privileges and how that's going to work out for them. And I think it would work out fine. because I know it will, because we're all human. But here's something else, and that is, you guys really, really don't know black people. For those of you who are sitting on the fence about what would happen if you really stomp out racism, and the blacks will probably hang you guys from trees for all the wrong that your ancestors did to our ancestors, you couldn't be further from the truth. Because if you knew black people, which most of you guys don't, you've been spoon-fed stuff about us, just like we've been spoon-fed stuff about y'all, and they needed to perpetrate this mindset for both. Even though our experiences were heartfelt, they were genuine, they were real life. I mean, our ancestors actually saw their sons and daughters and moms and pops hung and whipped. They actually saw that, so that damaged the psyche. Well, white people actually saw their fathers and mothers and daughters and sons beating black people on with the whip and hanging them and burning them and dragging them to the back of their car and horses. They actually saw this. So what am I saying? I'm saying that both mindsets were severely traumatized, which made it easy to control. It's hard to tell somebody who have watched their fathers, their great-granddads, their uncles, their cousins, and always have a big house, beat down the slaves slept out in the ground, got whipped and spit on. It's hard to tell that person that they're not better than that person, and they're doing that too. And again, we're talking about those that's in the middle of the pendulum. It's hard to convince them that, oh, now all of a sudden they're equal to me? Yeah, right. It's tough, but so is the great workshop of life. It's hard to tell someone who has watched their forefathers be hanged and whipped and drugged to the back of cars. It's hard to tell them, man, you actually equal to this person. Ain't nobody better than you. It's hard to convince them of that. But if you know anything about black people, and if you know anything about white people, well, right now we're going to stay on this particular point because I'm starting to have to use the restroom, guys. I am an all-natural professional bodybuilder. I drink upwards of 4 gallons of water, so 4 gallons of water per day. And at times, when it comes out of nowhere, and it feels like a person has been holding it for quite a long time, even though they actually haven't. So I'm going to speed up here. But if you know anything about black people, you know that black people are some of the most forgiving, some of the most tolerant, some of the most spiritual and compassionate people on the planet. I'm not saying that because I'm a black man. I'm actually a black Hispanic. So you know, but yes, I definitely go by black man. My mother was black. Peace and blessing be upon her. My dad was a Puerto Rican. Peace and blessing be upon him. So getting back to the meat of the matter. But if you know anything about black people, then you know this. But this wasn't told to you. You were only told a certain thing by those who was orchestrating the history books. You know if you know that black people are some of the most forgiving people on the planet. Matter of fact, this trait of forgiveness, this trait of always having love and kindness and compassion is one of the things that your forefathers, the forefathers of my white brothers and sisters, they knew and exploited to the fullest. Just do your homework. There are tales and tales and tales of stories way back from Egypt to Africa itself. Even though we know Egypt is a part of Africa, we're just making points of reference so that everybody know what I'm talking about. They knew this and they used it, and so there's history is riddled with stories where the black kings or the black queens, who was ever the ruler of the land, allowed white people to come into their land, and the white people mistreated them, stole slaves from them, sometimes stole their sons and daughters and shipped them off, and then went and apologized and said that we didn't know that the people that was working for us was going to do this, and we'd like to stay in your land. We still like to hunt. Would you? And they forgave them time and time again. The history is riddled with all the different times they actually wrote back and sent message back to the popes and all these other kings in Scotland, in England, saying, hey man, we let you guys in the country and you guys are taking all of my brothers and sisters out. And it was at the same time a lot of my black brothers and sisters were taking up the religion of Christianity. And so all of this, turn the other cheek, all of that, there's a divine plan, all of this, have faith, all of this was utilized against our black people because black people have always had this, what a narcissist will refer to as a weakness. The weakness is everybody can do better. Try and forgive them. Try and pray for them. So when they came along with Christianity, that fit right into it. Turn the other cheek. And they did it for years and years and years, even though their country was being crippled with slavery, crippled with smallpox. Oftentimes they refuse to say, hey man, look, we tried, it didn't work, y'all got to go. If y'all don't want to go, we're going to push y'all out of our country. By the time most of them decided to actually say, man, this ain't working, after years and years, sometimes decades of forgiving and allowing people to stay in their land and ship their diamonds off and all of this, when they finally decided it's not working, they was going to try and mount a revolt, the stranglehold was on them too tight, and there was no resistance that was notable. So black people at our core are very forgiving, very compassionate. And I'm willing to bet you $100 against 100 grains of dirty sugar, of dirty salt, 100 partial pieces of melted, chewed off bubble gum. I'll bet you $100 against 100 pieces of melted, chewed off, spat on bubble gum. That if you guys unite, because y'all have the construct, y'all have the voices, y'all have the material, y'all have the access to get it done. And if you guys do that for blacks, I guarantee you, no black will be running around here trying to spit in your face, trying to take you for granted. They'd be so happy, so elated, so moved. This is just how black people are. And if you do your research, the evidence bears this out. Your forefathers knew this and they played on it time and time again. It's a natural thing for black people to be spiritual. Black people are one of the most spiritual people on the planet. That's why they do all the dances, likened unto the Indian people, who most of them was black people, whether you know it or not. But we'll save that for a different video. Yes, most of the people on the continent, the indigenous people of this continent, were blacks. They were the people with the feathers and all that. Yeah, they were not necessarily red people. Not quite a bit of them. They were actually black. But I'll say that for a different video. But the point that I'm trying to make is, you can count on that same philanthropic mindset of black people at our souls, at our essence, to be forgiving, to be compassionate, to be caring, and things of this nature. Now, when I'm not necessarily talking about some of my brothers and sisters who are on that one side of the coin, just like I'm not talking about my white brothers and sisters who are on that side of the coin. Some people are just, it's not, there's no thrill in it for me to have to say it, but some people are just lost souls. Black, white, yellow, red, brown, you name it. Some people are just lost souls. So I'm not talking about those, but I'm talking about those who are in this middle. This is what we're talking about. you wouldn't have no problem. I guarantee you. And I'm gonna add to that this. So not only is you're not gonna have no problem, but the reparation movement. Right now, for the last few years, decade, we've been talking about reparation for slavery. And I can see the point of that. I'm in full agreement with that. I think after 310 years worth of slavery, there should be some monetary, appropriate, mind you, substantially appropriate monetary accountability and reimbursement for that 310 years. Obviously, it would require great minds to sit down and come up with numbers and figures and how it would be dispersed and things of that nature. But certainly there should be some monetary compensation, adequately, mind you. Now, having said that, reparations is bigger than just monetary. That's just what's in the news. That's just what's in the political views. It should be, reparations is about spiritual reparations, emotional reparations, psychological, social reparations. I got the sun beaming through right through my thing, so I'm going to pull my little desk over a little bit. Okay, that's much better. So these reparations vastly exceed monetary reparations. I would venture to say, and let me preface this statement by saying I am in no way espousing or putting forth the thought that monetary reparations should be excluded from the topic. I'm not saying that, not even by the slightest idea. So I wanted to preface my statement with that. My statement is, even if the monetary reparations were not going to take place, the bigger picture and the biggest part of it is all these other forms of reparations as previously mentioned, mental, psychological, social, emotional reparations that white people, even though my white brothers and sisters that's walking this planet today did not do anything to my black brothers and sisters that's walking the planet today, they are born into a system that would not be established had it not been of the ill will, brutal, and illegal treatment of the forefathers, my brothers and sisters, and my forefathers. So being as a race of human beings who believe in equity, fairness, justice, and things of this nature, it should be naturally incumbent upon my white brothers and sisters to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is no debate. You don't have to convince yourself to have honor. You can't convince yourself to be have ethics. You either have them or you don't. And if you have to convince yourself of them, then maybe they're just temporary or situational. But I'm talking to those who are good at heart, through and through. Then they should be standing up and having this system in our government, in our politics, news, finances, religion, education. They should be having a platform in all these different areas in which to say, we're stomping out racism, and this is what we're doing to pool together to make sure that this reformation goes through. Here's another little cheat sheet for you guys. The reparations, particularly those outside of monetary. The monetary reparations, obviously, are strictly for the sons and daughters who fathers and grandfathers and so forth were put into slavery, and not even necessarily for those who can prove that they are direct descendant of slaves, because let's just be real, man. Trying to prove that, you might as well go try and find a needle in a haystack. So we're not going to go for that. If we're going to do it right, then let's do it. If we're not going to do it right, then let's just not even do it at all. But I have the faith and the confidence that it is going to be done, and it's going to be done right. So, but here's something that is important for my white brothers and sisters to get as well. The reparations outside, and in addition to the monetary ones, because obviously the monetary ones just going to those who are receiving the monetary benefits. Any other reparations are for you, my white brothers and sisters. Any other reparations, it's for you. It is for you. It's not for us. It's for us as well. But that's a byproduct. The main focal point is for you guys. You guys, and again, this is my philosophical view on this. And my brand of philosophy is not scholarly. It's not based on academia. This is experiential philosophy. So it's based on real world, hands-on experience, in addition to some research, some studies, some things that I've gone out into the world and witnessed based on that study, things that I've practiced, things that I've tried, and so forth. But here is how and why it's beneficial to you. My white brothers and sisters are under a tremendous amount of internal conflict. And again, I'm not talking about those who are committed to being racist. I'm not talking about those who committed to knowing that they just know it's wrong and they're doing whatever they can to stomp it out. I'm talking about to my white brothers and sisters that's in the middle. Because these two groups have already made their minds up. But for even those who've already made their mind up, I think they'll benefit some as well. Because it's for you in the sense that you guys are influenced, you guys are under a great internal conflict with yourselves. Because history and the school books, the teachings, modern day society, everything about you that you have been taught that you are, when you take a good look at, when you take a good deep look at yourself, you realize that you're not. Caveat. Not that you are not those things, but simply that you have not displayed those things. You have not lived those things. And as my dad, peace and blessings be upon him, used to always say, what good is it for you to be good, Cepeda, if you're not going to be good? How does that behoove you to be good, but you're not going to be good? In other words, if you're a good person, Cepeda, then that means when you go in a situation, a circumstance, you do the good thing. You can't be good at your heart, but then go out and then don't stand up for good or do something in opposition to good. What's the point of you being good if you're not going to be good? So it's not that you guys aren't those things. It's that you guys haven't lived those things out collectively. And society has always told you, school books have always told you, mom, grandpops, great-great-grandpops, the news, your financial standings, your social standings, everything about you says you're number one, you're the best, all across the board, financially, spiritually, morally, ethically, you are number one. And when you look at your history, and when you look at yourself in the mirror, and you're totally honest, hand on heart, hand on the Bible, honest, you know that you're not living those things. You know that your forefathers haven't lived them. You know that your mom and your dad and your grandparents and all this, they told you that, but you remember times when they actually did the direct opposite of that. And you know when you, who you profess to be and who you have been taught to be yourself, and the standards that you hold yourself up and what society says you are not living up to it. And that, my white brothers and sisters, creates an extreme amount of internal conflict with you all, an internal burden, and extreme suffering. Now, this ain't to excoriate you guys. This is a call to open your eyes and wake up and realize that what you have been told about yourself, I'm not saying it's a lie, but it's a lie in the sense that you haven't lived it out. And you know that, and it creates pain and suffering for you collectively. When you have always been taught that you and yours is superior and you guys have the moral high ground, and then you grew up believing that your entire life, and then one day you sat back and watched, dang, well, my history is in direct opposition to what I was being fed. So the reparation is for healing for you, so you can come to grips with the terms of your internal condition that is not living up to the standards of which you know you should be and which you know you can, as well as which that you have been taught that you are. You're not meeting those standards. And this is a call. This can open you up to that truth, as painful as it may be, and the healing process can begin. So this is not for the reparations. Outside of the monetary ones, the reparations is for you. It's for the healing of the soul of the collective white community. That's what the reparations is all about. And as long as you guys don't take that plunge, the longer you guys are going to get up and take that internal suffering and push it out into the world. And I don't even want to get started on the specific ways, but I can, in which you have been raised, my white brothers and sisters have been raised to think a certain thing, and you are this and you are that, and you don't live it out. Like, for instance, you can't stand black people, but you sit in the sun all day getting as dark as you can. You are the most cleanest race on the planet. Black people are nasty and lazy. Nasty and lazy, you mean the people that worked all the fields, worked your yard, that was your yard, that you was responsible for, the guy that you made working for free, that's the one you calling lazy? Oh, black people are nasty. But the last time I checked, black people wasn't owning no factories that's polluting the air, polluting the water, the soil. Black people ain't involved in none of that. But black people, these are the people you call them nasty. So I'm not trying to offend you. I promise you I'm not. But sometimes we need to hear the truth up front, bold and straight on. We need to get our eyes black by the truth, our nose blooded, and our mouth swole up by the truth. Get a few fractured ribs and twisted kneecaps along the way. Because through that pain, we can wake up and say, hey man, I'm maybe on a different course. If I'm walking through this journey and whatever's on this journey, bust my nose, bust my mouth, ribs, ankles, maybe I should switch course. That's what it's for. But if you never get that, then you may just keep walking on that course forever. So that's what this is about. It's not to tear you down. It's to open you up so you can take a look and then build yourself up. So I love everybody, man. There's a certain way that I start all my videos. You've already heard that by requesting that if there's anybody new, they go to my website, and there's a certain way that I close all of my videos. Click on any video I've made on this channel, and you'll see I close them all the same. And you're going to hear it right here in just a moment. But I love all of y'all, man. There are some of us who dare stick our head above the frog pond and see what's going on out there. There's some of us who just said, you know what, it's got to be more to this than what's going on in this frog pond. This, they the enemy, vote for this guy, vote for that guy, march here, march there. There's got to be more to it than this. So this is for those of you who have that internal inclining to really be more, to really say more and do more. So unless we decide to take this thing head on and open up, man, and begin this healing, and to research and embrace some of these truths, all of these truths. Notice I started with research, because you should not take my word for it. You shouldn't take my word for it. If you take my word for it, then shame on you. But if you took anybody else's word for it, doesn't matter who they were or who they are, if you take their word for it, then shame on you. You should always do your own research, do your own critical thinking, your own critical analysis, and reach your own decision. This is to help you find a way. This is to provoke thoughts where you can say, I want to investigate that. That's curious. Oh, that makes good sense. Let me research it out to see if it's actually sense, or is it just something that makes good sense. I can give you a whole bunch of directions on how to get to Chicago that makes sense, and they all could be wrong. So do your own research, man. The same thing about my anything that I do. I don't state anything imperialistically. That's just how I don't do things. My whole point is to say, hey man, look, this is a path that I've trodden. This is the information, study, research, and practices that I've collected and can vouch for. There might be something in it that works for you. Maybe there's not, but here it is. And then you do what you're supposed to do as an intelligent, individual human being, which is your own research, your own study, your own analysis, and reach your own decision. So that's basically the message that I have for you guys. I want to really let you guys know that that I love y'all, man. You know, all my black brothers and sisters, I love y'all. All my white brothers and sisters, I love y'all. All my Asian, Hispanic, all human beings. At some point, we need to really, it's my greatest hope that we'll grow past all of this so-called, my white brothers and my black brothers event, because at the highest, once we get to this highest top, all of us, including myself, continue to grow our understanding of what it means to be a human being, then we can let all this race stuff go. We can transcend. That's the whole point. Read my website, please. That's the whole point of me going from raised as a Christian to Islam to Hinduism to Buddhism to Confucianism to back to Christianity, to one that transcends yet simultaneously embraces them all. We're all just different branches of the same tree. So why should I be saying, oh, my left branch, oh, my right branch, my high branch? It's kind of ridiculous. We're all branches of the same tree. So we need one another. I love all of you guys. Obviously, I'm a black man, and I can't help nobody until I can help myself and then help my family, then help my neighbors, then help my community, and so forth, and extrapolate that out. And the same thing goes for my white brothers and sisters. It's not wrong for you to be pro-white if you are white. How's that wrong? It's not wrong for you to be pro-black if you are black. How's that wrong? The trick is you don't become pro-black and anti-white. You don't have to do that. You don't have to become pro-white and that means you're anti-black. No. We gotta merge this stuff and transcend all this stuff. It ain't no more races. There's only one race. That's the human race. And I know at this current time, we have to break this down, so I get all of that. But I'm saying if we just keep growing, and myself included, if we just keep growing, if we just keep putting our hands to the plow, we'll get to a point so we can actually live this truth that, man, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm already there. Not to pat myself on the back, but just to mention that. So I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. And I don't care if you're gay or straight. And I don't care if you're a Muslim or a Christian. And just to be honest with you, that's the way we all should be, and that's the way we're all headed. If we keep putting our hands to the plow, and if I can get my white brothers and sisters, that sleeping giant, to wake up and say something and do something. You guys know what y'all need to do. You guys know how to plan it. Y'all have the finances. Y'all have the resources. Y'all have the know-it-all. Y'all have the access to implement very specific, cold-hearted strategies to say we're going to stomp out racism once and for all. We're tackling it. Ain't no more sitting on the sidelines. Ain't no more just going out, joining the marches. We're going to attack it in our education, our religions, our finances, our politics, everywhere it could even possibly exist. We're going to stomp out racism, and you guys can get it done, man. And the moment you guys unite and speak up, boom, it'll happen just like that, because their whole system of racism is predicated on keeping you guys silent and keeping us all broken to pieces with this us against them type of mentality, and not realizing that, again, they didn't look what happened in the pandemic and so forth and so on. They smack us all around, man. So, but my white brothers and sisters, we need y'all voice. To some of y'all that's listening to this video, who can either contact me for some advice, contact me for some information, contact me for some assistance, whatever, give me some advice, give me a word of encouragement, or what have you. But we need for you guys to get together in y'all communities, on the jobs and schools and all of these other little places where y'all know that racism be existing, but y'all don't address it head on for whatever reason, community banishment, social outlashes and repercussions and whatnot. But it's look what that's gotten us, man. Look what it's gotten us. So at some point, if we get smacked in the face anyway, we might as well get smacked while we're fighting back. That's my take on it. Might as well fight back if we get smacked anyway. So that's what I have for you guys. I love y'all. Stay blessed. This is the way I end each and every video. There's two truths, and they are this. Number one, I don't know all of y'all, but I do love all of y'all. That is as real can get. I don't care how it sounds to you, if it sounds cliche, if it sounds Pollyanna, if it sounds soft. I don't care how it sounds. That's just a fact. And this is that real love. Real love is the kind of love that says, hey, I love you, Jimmy. Hey, I love you, Rashad. But and I'm gonna do everything I'm supposed to do while I love you. I'm gonna clothe you. I'm gonna give you a ride to work, whatever the situation may be. But if I catch you playing with that socket, or if I catch you stealing money out my purse or my wallet or whatever, I'm gonna give you a different kind of love. So this that real love. This that real love. That love that's strong enough to love you, and there's that love that's strong enough to discipline you if it comes to that as well. So I love all of y'all. I don't know all of y'all, but I do love all of y'all. That's as real can get. That's number one. The other number one, because it ain't no number two, the other number one is If you're feeling bad, and we all may have those moments, we've all had those moments. If you're feeling bad, go make somebody else feel good and you'll feel better. That's the truth about how I live my life. And again, if you're watching any of my other videos, you know I typically or occasionally throw this in there because this is the truth as well. I'm not talking about anytime you just feel bad, you just run out the door like, hey, try to make somebody feel good. That's not what I'm talking about. The good book says there's a time and a season for everything. So sometimes there's times when you should feel sad. You didn't meet the standard that you set for yourself. You let your friends down. You did whatever, and you should feel sad. There's some times when I should feel sad. Good book says there's a time and a season for everything. So I'm not talking about as soon as you feel sad, just try to run from your sadness. Sometimes we need to sit down and embrace that sadness, be right in the middle of it. Take it all in, acknowledge it, feel the pain, feel the sorrow, and then once we've done that, we go to move past it. We don't want to stay there too long to where we become despondent. So we want to stay there and for that appropriate amount of time, and then we want to move on. Other times we just wake up feeling sad, or we just start feeling sad just because negativity is in the air. It can be across the seas somewhere, and all of a sudden you just start feeling bad. You don't know why. You didn't do anything. Your mood just changed. You just start feeling bad. Those particular times, there's no reason for you to be feeling sad. Then yeah, you want to get up and go make somebody happy, and you'll feel better. Now, once you sat in it, if you know you should feel sad, sit in it, take the responsibility of it, feel the pain. That'll inspire you to not want to feel that pain again. You don't just get up and run from it, because if you get up and run from it, when you know you should feel sad, then you never will grow. So either way, if you're feeling sad and there's no reason for you to feel sad, or you're feeling bad, there's no reason for you to be feeling bad, go make somebody else feel good, you'll feel better. If you should be feeling sad and you know you should be feeling sad, sit there for a moment, whatever's right for you, a couple moments, hour or so, whatever's right for you. Sit right there, take it in, feel the pain, and then get up, shake it off, go make somebody else feel good, and you'll feel better. That's just the way this thing works, guys. Now, if you're already feeling good and you go make somebody else feel good, then you'll go from feeling good to feeling phenomenal. Again, that's just the way this thing works, guys. That's really the way it works. The powers that be know this, and they've been using this on us in reverse. So what happens nowadays is when somebody feels bad, the first thing they want to do is go try and project that out on someone else, dump that off onto someone else, and then that person does it somewhere else. And then when you dump it off on someone else, you end up feeling worse 5 or 10 minutes, 20 minutes later anyway. So it's this repetitive cycle. You always want to dump something off on somebody, and the next guy's wanting to do that too. Don't fall for that trap. If you're feeling bad, go make somebody else feel good, and then you'll feel better. And if you are already feeling good and you go make somebody else feel good, then you'll go from feeling good to feeling phenomenal. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please check out the website. Please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. I love you guys. That's just what it is. And I will speak with you guys soon. Stay blessed, because guess what? You are blessed. Peace.